Headlines. The group of 20 industrialized nations, the G20 summit, begins today in Cannes, France. Leaders, of course, will be converging today. And top on the agenda will be, of course, the debt crisis in the Eurozone. And today we hear that Greece's Euro membership will be put to a vote. That's definitely, the leaders have quite a lot to talk about, especially concerning Greece. Now, from the commodities market, we saw crude oil settling at around $92 per barrel in early Asian trade. And also from the commodities market, the precious metal gold advanced about 0.24% this morning in early Asian trade, settling at around $1,734 an ounce. Now, today we'll be looking at the global markets. All that's happened so far this week from Monday up until now. Of course, the biggest story remains Greece's shocking move to put a bailout package reached last week to a referendum. According to the Greek Prime Minister, he wants to get the opinion of his people. Now, this referendum may not take place until December the 4th or 5th. And of course, markets will have to wait for that outcome. Of course, that's also what the G20 members will be talking about today. I'll have, when Business Morning returns, Rashad Hussain is the director of ACM Gold International, a forex and commodities brokerage house. He will be joining me after the break, and we'll be looking at the global markets from Asia to Europe and, of course, America. Please join us again. Welcome back to Business Morning. Rashad Hussain, the director of ACM Gold International, the forex and commodities brokerage house, will join me in a couple of seconds to look at the global markets. Now, this week, investors across the globe have had to digest a raft of developments from economic data, not so encouraging economic data from China and the US, and of course the Greece debt debacle. But before then, let's quickly check with the money and FX markets from Wednesday. Interbank lending at the interbank market ended mixed in midweek. We saw coal money, that's short-term lending, closing at an average of 17%. Now, at the secured open buyback window, for the banks and discount houses. Rates remained little changed at around 14% on average. That's for the banks and discount houses. At the currencies arm of the market, we saw the naira reversing previous losses against the dollar at the interbank foreign exchange market, ending at 158 naira 15 kobo from around 161 naira previously. We've seen the naira getting some support. We did hear that some energy firms sold foreign exchange directly to some lenders at the market, easing the pressure on the naira yesterday and helping also to close the supply gap that had been widening in the last couple of days. Now, it's been a tough week, very exhausting week for investors this week. They've had to digest a raft of developments at the global markets. Of course, most depressing this week has been Greece's shocking move to put the package that took months and months to put together to a referendum. Now, many have criticized this move on the part of the Greek Prime Minister, Mr. George Papandreou, some have called Greece ungrateful. Now, Rashad Hussein is here from ACM Go to give us his own perspective on what's happened so far. Good morning, Rashad. Thank you so much for being here. Now, many have called what Greece did ridiculous, and some have actually called Greece ungrateful. What are your thoughts? I mean, this is a package that took months and months. We had marathon summits, France, Germany, holding conference calls, all kinds of summits. And then eventually we had a deal. Last week we had a deal. All of a sudden we don't have a deal. What's going on?
Firstly, good morning and thank you for having me today. It's one of those unwanted birthday party surprises, a thorn in everyone's side. Greece is, unfortunately, and I don't want to sound too skeptical when I say this, but the old Trojan horse story. They had an offer, they had a solution presented to them, but they've turned their back on it. Why? Obviously, there has to be a plan B. You know, no one would enter into such a decision or a bailout threat unless they had a plan B. Now, France and Germany are looking to create a pact, and obviously the euro is looking to strengthen at the back of this. But if Greece does have something up their sleeves right now, I think now is the time for them to come out and say, okay, fine, you know what, guys, we need to think about this. Papandreou, he's obviously going to go back to his board and he's going to speak to his people about maybe returning to their own currency. Is it going to help them in the long run? The euro, where it stands right now, maybe isn't benefiting Greece in any way. So it's one of those surprise parties. It is a thorn in everyone's side, but I still think and I strongly believe that Greece is definitely up to something. It's got a plan B somewhere.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Because I've been thinking about that too. What would a plan B be? Because they have actually on their own part enforced some of the very harsh austerity measures. We've seen cuts, in workers' wages and all of that. And Greece had actually at a point kept its own side of the bargain, and all of a sudden, or do you think, because many do also argue that this might be a political calculation on the part of Mr. Papandreou. We have, of course, he has a confidence vote coming up on Friday, and all of a sudden he wants the consent of his people. And these people, of course, we know over the months that they've been against this move, this harsh, bailout package, especially the unions. So what will be different?
I think Mr. Papandreou's confidence vote is failing. Now, how would the people feel if Greece returned to its original patriotism? I think that's where he's going to win his votes. Yes, you're very right, Esther, it is a political move. But at the same time, you look at countries such as China, they're all keeping a very keen interest in the developments of Greece right now. Are they looking to invest? I mean, there's no home in the world right now which doesn't have a Chinese product in it somewhere. China's a new economy emerging, waiting to happen within the middle of Europe. You know, it's one of those things where it's never been seen in history before, where in the middle of Europe, where 12 years ago they abolished the multiple currencies and they created this single currency, and there was one failure, as so to speak. And now this failure is looking to come out of it, and you have world powers focusing their attention. Germany has been the most vocal out of this. Why? France is backing Germany. Why? You know, they're the ones who are threatening now. I was looking at some reports this morning. Germany and France, they're both threatening Greece to come up with a decision. Are you going to stay in the euro or are you going to not stay in the euro? And Mr. Papandreou very calmly said, you know what, I'll let you know tomorrow.
Where's this confidence coming? Because where's this confidence coming from? And nobody knows what this plan B could possibly be.
But
now, okay, sorry to butt in. We need to move quickly. The G20 summit is today. It starts today in Cannes, France.
Yeah.
And Greece's membership is going to be put to a vote. What kind of outcome are we looking at? And of course, we know the Greece officials, they are going to be under a lot of heat. What what do you say this interaction?
I wouldn't be surprised if Greece made its announcement today or indicating as to which direction they'd like to head. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's too early for anybody to comment on what the outcome would be. But all I can say